Hey there, this is Natalie, and I've got some more interesting stories for you from Reddit. Remember to subscribe if you like having plenty of new stories to listen to, always read by my real human voice instead of an AI. Now, let's get into the first story. This story is a concluded story that I found on Best of Redditor Updates. It was originally posted by user Getting Me Fired in r/advice. And the first post in the chain is entitled, I think my girlfriend has been trying to get me fired from all my jobs. I'm shaken, please help me. And OP begins. I'm male 24 and have been with girlfriend female 29, let's call her Janice, for 2.5 years. I just finished my education when we started dating, and I have been doing all sorts of jobs since, sometimes 2 at a time. I did this to expand my resume and gather job experience. I worked in cafes, bookstores, a library, a grocery store, and as an English tutor. Most of these jobs lasted about 3 to 5 months. My shortest stay was 2.5 weeks, my longest 8 months. But since I didn't have a hard time applying for new positions, I tried to block it out, though it was kind of eating me up internally. People called to complain about me. People left bad reviews about me. People used my employee Wi-Fi access to look up sketchy things on the internet under my name. Former employees called to inform them about me, right name and all, and much more subtle stuff that I couldn't disprove. But I was too anxious to do anything about it. I just told my girlfriend. She comforted me, and she supported me every time I got my life ruined by these people. But I kept going, though they kept finding me. Fast forward to this week. I currently hold a part-time position at a bakery. I've been working there for 2.5 months. It's going okay, but my manager approached me about something regarding our Google reviews. Someone was complaining about an employee, and their description of them could really only fit me. It was on a day when we were pretty short of staff, so I could have been the only person in the store on that day for all I know. Anyway, their review contained some pretty elaborate and nasty comments about me. This has happened on 1 or 2 of my jobs already. I told my manager that it was all pretty bogus and that someone had a vendetta against me, as it has happened before. She believed me and told me that she'll dismiss the comment. On my break, I checked out the review myself. Their username was kinda stupid. I'm not going to type it out here since I still work there, but I'll just call them Mick Myrtle, as it was in the same range of sounds kinda fake but not really. Anyway, I come home but don't tell Janice about it. She's heard it all before, so I didn't see the point in complaining about another time I almost lost my position. We chat, all is well, and she leaves the room. Her phone is on the table and suddenly she gets a notification or an email of some sort from Google. I don't remember what it said exactly, but the pop-up read something along the lines of, Mick Myrtle, manager has responded to your review. My heart dropped. I've been trying to ignore it since. This was 2 days ago. It just fit in the picture of bad reviews. It fit in the picture of the phoned complaints my workplaces have received about me in the past. It fits in the picture of all the sketchy things I've been fired for. Why would she do that though? I'm looking for an explanation. This literally can't be. She's the only thing keeping me sane. I don't know what to do. Wow, this sounds like some really unhinged kind of controlling thing that she's doing. Like causing him to repeatedly go through bad situations where she's the only person he can confide in and, the only person who can comfort him and make him feel better. I don't know whether there's more to it, like maybe she doesn't want him earning money or improving his resume for some reason, or if it's just that she's trying to cause bad things to happen to him so that he becomes more and more emotionally dependent on her. Either way, it's kinda sociopathic. But there are updates to this story, so let's find out what happens. The first update says, hello people who are still invested. I'm sorry for not updating you guys earlier. A lot has been going on. First of all, yes, we broke up. That's why I'll be referring to her as my ex from now on. Anyway, let's start from the beginning. On the Monday of the following week, I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. I told my ex I needed her booking account to book a train ticket to visit my dad for a few days. She complied, and when she was in the shower getting ready for work, I booked my ticket and started looking through her emails. After some digging, I found an email to herself which contained a spreadsheet file. I sent the file to myself, printed it out, and took a screenshot. Why? The spreadsheet contained about every single bit of information about me that there was. Numbers, emails, passwords, work times, colleagues, their numbers and social medias, as well as some emails and passwords that she used for other accounts to ruin my life with. Everything was on there, conveniently sorted for her to ruin my life as efficiently as possible. When she left for work, I decided it would be best to immediately pack my stuff. Nothing that mattered would be left behind. I felt like a wanted man, like I was being hunted, despite nothing being seemingly out of place. I called my boss, told her I'd be taking some time off from work, and headed out to see my dad. Needless to say, he was the sanity I needed. I cried about everything I saw. I panicked for a whole 2 days straight about how my life was ruined and I didn't know what to do. He had to sleep on the couch in the guest room because I was so scared of my ex coming in. He handled it like a champ. I love you, Dad. He called the police, a lawyer, and most recently, a therapist for me because I was in the most horrible state of my entire life. We're currently sorting out the legal stuff. I haven't talked to my ex, except for letting her know it was over and that she's a sick psychopath. My dad handled the rest. I've changed all my passwords and I'm now looking for a place to live. Sorry for the brief update, my mind is tangled. Please ask questions if you want to know more. Edit. By the way, thank you to every single person who gave me advice, talked to me over DMs, and was generally concerned about me. I appreciate every single one of you. Well, it's very good that he got out and that his dad was supportive, but I still want to know, what she was thinking, what reason she gave to him for doing this stuff. And since as of that update, he hasn't actually talked to her about it, maybe it's in the next update. I am reading this one live, so I haven't already seen how it ends. But that's the thing I'm most curious about at this point. Now we know that he's safe. And his final update begins, went back on here and saw a bunch of DMs. And some of y'all came here quite recently. I've answered all of the DMs so far, and before I let the next batch of people wait, you'd think there wouldn't be after 2 years, I'll give you a quick update. Spoiler, it isn't that interesting. TLDR, we ended up not taking her to court over it. This is quite controversial considering the abhorrent thing she's done to me, but I do not regret this decision. The satisfaction of seeing her get punished would have been overshadowed by the sheer amount of dread, anxiety and fear I would have faced in those court hearings. I was a nervous mess. I couldn't eat for weeks without throwing up. My dad had to settle most of the important stuff because I physically couldn't. Thank you, Dad. On the bright side, our lawyers settled the situation beautifully in private, and I haven't had any problems with her since. That I'm aware of. I've moved houses, got a stable job, and found the closure and justice I was looking for through therapy. I hope she did as well. We've had zero contact since then, and I still haven't read any of the messages she sent me those years ago. Of course, I'm nowhere near done with my journey. I still have all of my social media accounts set to private and insist on keeping a low profile online. I still get anxiety, especially when there's problems at work, but I haven't had any panic attacks in months, and my therapist has been great. I don't know how she's doing. I don't know if she's moved on, or if she's seen this story float around the web. Hello, YouTube, TikTok, and Snapchat. I don't know how much she knows about how my life is currently going, but nothing's happened since that I could attribute to her schemes. Sorry if this update is kind of a jumbled mess. I just woke up, and I've repressed a lot of what happened. Thank you all for your kind messages. Cheers. So that final update was actually from 2 years later than the original posts. So I guess the upshot is that he did successfully carry on with his life after a period of being very traumatized by finding out that his girlfriend was actually the psychopath with a vendetta against him. But he's had no contact with her, so I guess we'll never really know what her motivation was for doing any of this. But what do you guys think? How bizarre would it be to think that you had somebody with a grudge against you, causing you to lose all your jobs and, getting you in trouble around everything that you do, and it actually turns out to be the one person that you'd been confiding in about all these bad things happening to you? That's a pretty mad situation to find yourself in, and I'm not surprised that he experienced so much sort of emotional upheaval afterwards. How do you think you'd react? Let me know down below. Now here's an interesting story. This was originally posted by user Ugly Woman and was entitled "Husband 30 Male Admits I, 28 Female, Am Ugly." And she begins, "I am an unattractive woman, objectively. I've always been this way, and while I have accustomed myself to it, it nonetheless remains a daily fact that being an ugly woman sucks. I met my husband 4 years ago, and he's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. He has always and frequently told me I'm beautiful, and somehow sounded honest, without sounding like my mother, like someone without another option to answer. Last night, Saturday, he had a group of friends over to our home. They meet several times a month to hang out, catch up, and play games. He's known most of these guys since high school. I was upstairs in the kitchen preparing drinks and snacks, and was able to hear them in the basement, so I began to eavesdrop, which I know was rude, but it wasn't really intentional. I realised they were talking about me. A couple of the guys were teasing my husband about me, specifically about my looks. I could tell it was supposed to be funny. It was not. There was a point where one of them referred to me as a troll, and my husband blew up, started shouting, "Listen, shut the frick up. I know that OP's name is ugly, but shut up. She makes me happy. Does your bimbo of the week do that, Jim? Dave, how long has it been since we've hung out and you haven't bitched about your wife?" Not real names. He went on for a while defending me, but all I could hear was, "I know she's ugly, I know she's ugly, I know she's ugly," again and again in my head. It just broke me, and I don't know why. I've always known I'm unattractive, but he isn't supposed to. He tells me I'm beautiful so sincerely and consistently, I'd started to actually believe he thought that. I started to cry and ran into a shower so no one could hear me. When I came out an hour later, everyone had gone home, far earlier than normal. I went to bed and then haven't spoken to him all day today, but I think I've been able to avoid letting him know I'm upset, or avoiding him. I know rationally that what he said was true and sweet, and that I should be happy he loves me and not my body. It doesn't seem to matter. I just want to be pretty. God, I feel so shallow. I've been crying all day. What do I say to him? Part of me wants to call him a liar, to scream and yell and cry, while the other part just wants to run away and never have to talk to him again, and acknowledge that even the greatest man I will ever meet can't find me attractive. TLDR, overheard husband admit to friends that I am ugly. Even though I knew this to be true already, and the admitting happened in the midst of him explaining how much he loves me, it makes me feel terrible, worthless, and like I'd lost something I'd waited my whole life for. I'd given up hope I'd ever have a partner who even liked me before I met him. I lost a lottery spectacularly at birth, and my life feels like a big joke, a cycle of humiliation and punishment I did nothing to deserve. I don't even know how to talk to him. Oh, this is really sad that she feels that way. I mean, from what the husband actually said, it does sound like he was defending her, and that he is perfectly happy being with her. But I can also see why, even if she is genuinely, objectively very unattractive in a way that, you can't really fix with a bit of a makeover or whatever, it's still the case that she probably did want to feel like at least one person in the world actually thought she was beautiful and attractive. And, he may not have been lying to her, he may have been talking about how he sees her as a person, rather than, physical attractiveness when he told her she was beautiful all the time. But you can't blame someone for wanting to feel that way, even if it's only with one person. So I can understand why she has that reaction of thinking that her own reaction is shallow, when in fact it's just some kind of desire that people always have for at least the person that loves them to think that they're beautiful. I mean, we don't know if she really is extremely unattractive, or if it's just a case of maybe she's a bit frumpy and the partners of the husband's friends are more sort of glamorous or something like that. We don't have a picture of her, and beauty is one of those things where people have completely different standards anyway. But of course, if she has sort of facial deformities or something like that, then that would be a different matter, and it may be that she genuinely did lose some kind of lottery looks-wise and has been going with that her whole life. But there is an update to this one, so let's see what she has to say. And the update begins, "This one turned out really long. Sorry. First off, I'd like to say thanks. Just wow. Over the last 2 days, I've had literally hundreds of messages and private messages. You guys rock. Seriously, look at that thread. That's got to have one of the best positivity and sweetness to meanness and jerks ratios on all of Reddit. Like ever. You guys knocked it out of the park for me. I'm still figuring out why. So yesterday, after getting a barrage of support from you guys on my phone every couple of minutes, non-stop, all day, I decided to try and confront my husband over what I'd heard. After we were both home from work, I told him I needed to talk. I told him I'd overheard him and his friends, and he immediately started to apologise for them, saying they were jerks and assholes and that I should have told him I'd heard. I had to stop him and let me get a word in and tell him it wasn't his friends so much as it was what he said. When I told him what he said, his whole tone changed. I could tell he wasn't expecting to be blamed. I'd had the whole conversation planned out. I wanted to explain how it made me feel, how I thought he really was attracted to me, and how betrayed it made me feel to hear him say that behind my back. But I just started to cry and couldn't really communicate what I wanted to say very well. He was awesome though, and just held me, and then after a minute started to speak, like he was reading right out of the nicest comments in the original thread, telling me he was just angry and didn't speak very well, that he really does find me attractive even if the world doesn't and his friends don't. I calmed down pretty quick. I basically cried myself out the day before. He took me to his computer and showed me an email he sent to all of his friends on Sunday. I wish I could copy-paste it now, but he basically called all his friends assholes, said they crossed the line from good-natured trash talk to just being assholes, and then continued going far beyond. He said that for time indefinite, they'd have to find another host and were no longer welcome in my home. He actually said OP's name's home. I thought that would make it sound like I was ordering him around and being a bitch, but he said he just wanted to emphasise how wrong what they were doing was. Seeing him stand up for me again made me happy, especially seeing him do it without talking bad about me, helping me believe it really was just heat of the moment bad word choice. He told me to wait in the room and left, coming back with a folder. He said he was going to give me this for Christmas, but that he'd get me something else. I tried to say no, but he insisted. It was plane tickets and brochures. He set up a trip in early January to this spa hotel resort thing in British Columbia. It was pretty mind-blowing. But I realised it had to be several $1,000s he'd spent. We budget pretty thoroughly. He shouldn't have been able to spend that without me noticing. I asked where he got the money, and he said he'd been planning this for more than a year, and saving all the money assigned to his weekly spending money, and collecting where I wouldn't notice, change from groceries, etc. When I say that sometimes I'm not sure I deserve him, understand that I'm not having a crisis I need help dealing with. He's just really awesome. He's taking me out for dinner, so I have to go, but I'll be on again tonight. TLDR, everything is okay. Husband is an amazing person. I still wish I was prettier, but I understand how lucky I am, how happy I should be, and how prettiness and happiness are not synonyms. Thank you, Reddit, for all the support. I owe you guys. Oh, that's a nice wholesome ending for that one. I do think it's important for people to realise that, like she says, prettiness and happiness are definitely not synonyms. I mean, think how many movie stars end up getting divorced. Movie stars, supermodels, all of those people that we consider maybe the most attractive in the world. They go through the same kind of heartbreaks and issues that everybody else does. And yeah, I can think of plenty of objectively unattractive people I know who are in wonderful relationships or have brilliant family lives and amazing careers. You know, not everything is about looks. And although they can help you in a lot of situations, so it is always a good idea to make the best of what you've got. I think it's always a bad idea to sort of attribute any kind of lack in your life in terms of relationships or romantic partners or anything like that down to how you look, because that way you're always going to be thinking that you're never going to find somebody. You know, we all get sick of those guys complaining that they're never going to find somebody because they're not 6 foot tall. Whereas if you go outside to anywhere where couples and families congregate, you will find that plenty of the men there with their wives and kids will not be over 6 foot tall because, you know, that's above average height. It's kind of the same way for women. I think when you see so many people with their heavily filtered pictures on Instagram and all that kind of thing, you can believe that everybody in the world is an absolute knockout, and any flaw that you might have could be the reason why you're not in a wonderful relationship or why you don't get the promotion that you want, or, you know, whatever's going to bring happiness to you. But again, if you look around, look at people you know, look at people just dining in a restaurant or at the park, you will see that most of the women who seem to be in happy relationships probably aren't, you know, 9s and 10s or professional models. And I think this woman's story is, you know, it's a good one to think about, because not only does it tell us that it's perfectly fine to wish you were better looking, it's not a moral failing, or it doesn't make you a shallow person if you want to look good and be seen as beautiful, but it also is absolutely possible for you to have a wonderful relationship with someone who thinks the world of you, no matter what your face looks like. So that's good news for all you uggos out there in internet land. You know I'm just kidding. But what do you guys think about this story? Are you someone who sees someone's inner beauty? Or would you be embarrassed if your friends were calling your wife or girlfriend a troll? In the living under the bridge sense, not the Redditor sense. Let me know down in the comments. And that's it for this video, but there are plenty more to check out on the channel, and if you watch them, it really helps me out, where I need many, many watch hours to get this channel monetized. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope to see you again very soon.